Mr. Don, what's going on, man?
Brother, how are you, man?
I'm doing good. Thanks for joining me this afternoon.
Not a problem, man. I ended up leaving my job. It was taking too much time. I'm like, you know what? I gotta get more in this. I was getting a little bit behind. I'm like, you know what? I can't do this. So I just killed the job, went back to full time studying. So
Oh man, so did you quit for good?
yeah. I quit for good. Shasta's working. She's got a job, and we're good for now. But I just had to. This is too important to me. So
Amazing. All right, man. Well, now it's time to get serious. Now it's time to
oh
double
yeah.
down. I love hearing it. Awesome. Well, thanks again for joining me this random afternoon. Dylan, how are you doing today, Dylan?
What's up, man? Not too bad. Had some
Good.
time, so I figured I'd jump on.
Nice. All right, great to have you. And Mike, I haven't seen you in a hot minute, man. How's everything going over there?
I know. All right. Yeah, I've had just either work or personal appointments that would happen in the late afternoon. I'm just
Okay.
like, all right.
That's
It's okay.
All right, good. Cody, how you doing over there, man? Oh, Cody, you're muted if you hear us.
Headed back from inspection right now.
Oh, okay, good deal, man. I'm glad you're able to make it in. Justin, how you doing over there, Justin? Oh, Justin, you're muted as well. If you can hear us, let's see. All right, we'll jump back to Justin, but Ashley, great to see you in. Everybody, I'm not sure if you guys saw the post, but Ashley passed her licensing exam. So shout out to Ashley. Great work there.
Congrats.
Thank you. How y'all doing?
Doing good. All right,
well.
guys. Well, I don't know how much. I'm glad you guys jumped in on this meeting. I was curious if I was curious if I was going to get any turnout. So I'm glad we got some vets that made their way in. Brian, how are you, man? I don't think we've met before, have we?
Hey, I'm good. How about yourself, man?
Doing good. All right, thank you for making it in today. All right, we'll go around, do a check in. I know a lot of you guys at this point. A lot of you guys have already, handful of the room have already kind of completed training and going about your business. So I guess we'll just do a general check in. Dylan, what's your status, man? How are you doing?
I'm okay. It's slowed down a little bit here. Really, my kind of question why I jumped on today, and a lot of the question I've been asking a lot of these guys that have been in it for a while is dry seasons. You know, I know that even Cody, kind of what he's going through right now, he said it kind of dipped down, and I know their goal is to reach out to more firms and whatnot and stay on top of it. But, you know, is there ever time in your experience where we do have seasonal dips or whatnot? And is it part of kind of the industry and normal, I guess? Or have you seen years that are definitely maybe a little bit slower than others?
Yeah, for sure. So the best way, I feel like I answered this for you once, but here's what I've noticed through the years. Number one, I do think that this is the answer here is regional too, because I think different parts of the country will have different effects. I feel like generally things do start to slow down probably mid-December through mid-January, I would say. And after mid-January, especially if you live in one of the northern states, then you start to get winter-related claims that start popping up. I do think that there could be an element as well where just with the holidays coming around the corner, Thanksgiving is past and you've got, all the holidays coming up, Christmas and whatnot coming up, that people who would file a claim for non-emergency type of items, maybe they're not very interested at that point. So you'll see kind of a slowdown in claims at that. And then after the holidays end, you've got New Year's, and so then slowly it starts to come back after that. But my big thing is, when I say things start to slow down, that doesn't mean that you will absolutely that you're going to be in a spot where you're going to need to count your pennies. Because that's why you want to keep the marketing all throughout the year and go into the slow season with a good network behind you, so that even if, you know, the companies that you're working with, maybe they're slowing down, you know, by a third or half as much of a volume, you still have a good enough volume coming in to really take you through it, and hopefully even better. Do you get what I mean by that?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I've noticed over the years. Over the years, I would always kind of reserve like December, January to be the months where I might go away on vacation or just take some time off. It's just the most effective time.
Yeah, I this is the last part I'll say on that. Maybe I did kind of ask something similar, but now it's on my mind again. I've got a buddy here who kind of got me into this. His past 6 years have been really busy here, and this has been. I called him because I'm kind of drying up on my claims here, and I was seeing how he's been doing, and he's been always insane. You know, he's done usually at least around 20 claims a week, and he said that he's about finished up completely. Like there's nothing else in his queue either. So
Yeah.
I don't know, just like weather related, or if this is just kind of like, as much as I reach out to firms, is there anything to kind of grab at a certain point? That's kind of where I'm at, where, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, and this goes for everybody. I would use this month, you know, October, November. I mean, I'm always telling you guys to market anyway. So I'm just kind of beating the same drum when I say this, but it's definitely a good time to really take advantage of getting out there and getting yourself in front of them leading into these months, just so they already have your information going into it. And if you can land a new company to work with, you know, before the end of this month or November, then that might, you know, net you a couple claims in December, a couple extra claims in January while you're waiting for things to kick back up. But be prepared for it, but be prepared for it in a way where you're going to mitigate as much loss as possible. You know, at the end of the day, even if the overall claim volume across every insurance company in your respective areas goes down 33%, we are all just drops in the bucket on how many of those claims we can even handle. You know, I mean, in your general area, I used to have the numbers, but I mean, you're looking at thousands of claims, you know, tens of thousands of claims filed in a single month in your area. How many of those can you realistically handle? Not very many of them. And if it dips down a little bit, a quarter or half, that's still way more claims than you can handle. It's not a question of whether or not the claims are coming in. The question is whether or not they're coming to you. And that's why we want to just, you know, keep ourselves as diversified with as many different companies, and, you know, kind of have our hand in as many different buckets as possible.
Thanks, man.
You got it, man. You got it. All right, Micah, let me jump over to you, man. What's the update from you?
Not much. Still, I would say it hasn't changed. It's still slow, still one firm, same kind of claims, done some marketing. I'd gotten a reply back, and that's what I was going to ask about. So I'd gotten a reply back from one, and they said that they got my resume and all this. And they're like, I can send them a more detailed resume with the types of claims worked, types of carriers, and dates worked as an adjuster. So I guess my question would be, how would I respond to that if it's still just one firm?
Yeah, Micah sent me this actually to take a look at his resume, and I'm like, man, that's a Jeremy question. I'm not sure if you've only worked for a couple of carriers. I don't know what else you can possibly add. You know, I was trying to think for how I could give you some advice, Micah, but
yeah,
it ain't me.
Well, my other reason was like to get rid of the candy colors that I had on there.
Candy colors? What do you mean?
On the resume. On
the resume, some of them were a little too.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's okay.
I mean,
yeah.
I'll tell you. I mean, ultimately, I've never adding what types of claims you've handled, what carriers you've worked for. Those are good things, you know, to put on there. I know for the longest time, I had the same. You know, I would list, you know, if I worked for ABC Claim Service, I'm going to list every single carrier that I've worked underneath them. So that's a fair question to ask. The dates, having them wanting you to include the dates on there. I mean, at that point, obviously they're kind of questioning your experience level at that point, right? What company was this that asked you?
Evolve.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. I actually onboarded with them, and I don't think I've ever gotten anything from them. I mean, as far as that goes, I mean, at this point, you've only done, what was it, AmeriClaim? Is that who you were?
AmeriClaim, yeah.
AmeriClaim. You still only worked for them doing the one type of claim, you said?
Yeah, but it's been what are we in? October?
Yeah.
I'm guessing 4 or so months.
Yeah, it's been a little while.
So it's been a bit.
Yeah. I mean, my honest opinion on that, you don't really have a great answer for them. I mean, you can answer them truthfully and say and give them the dates and the one company that you worked with and the one carrier that you've worked with. I would at that point, I wouldn't even bother going through the effort of making a new resume just to send to them. I would maybe change your resume around to include causes of loss. I'm happy to take another look at it too, just to add more detail on there to maybe make it a little bit more convincing. Because it seems like this is a repeating story a little bit, that there's a little bit of concern there about your experience level. So maybe there's some stuff that we can add in there. I would honestly just reply and just say, for the last several months, I've been working with, you can be truthful. I've been working with this one company doing this one, carrier. That's it, and send it to them. Or alternatively, you can not say that and just kind of, tell them I'll shoot that over to you as soon as possible, and then just keep them in your back pocket for the next round of marketing, and then if they ask the same thing again and you don't have a good answer for them, do the same thing again until they either just send you claims anyway, which wouldn't be terribly surprising, or B, you do respond to them when you actually have something better to respond to them with. But I am a bit a little shocked, to be honest, that after 4 months you haven't had that much activity coming your way, especially in the area that you're in, because you're not in a slow area at all.
Yeah,
and
you're not onboarded with, I don't know, I haven't counted, I would say 15 or so at least, but haven't heard from anybody except for AmeriClaim.
And I know this might be a silly question, but you've gone through the list, you've sent out emails, you've visited all the websites and everything like that?
I don't think I made it through the entire list yet.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a whole.
No. I know that. I'm not.
I would start there especially with that said. I mean, that's a definite leak in the boat right there. Definitely start exhausting.
And I was gonna go through but then I was thinking, I said, I wonder if I really should revamp my resume just a bit before I really do this again, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't spend too much. I wouldn't make it a huge project.
Yeah.
Maybe with the feedback that you've gotten so far, especially, wondering what types of claims that you've handled, that's an easy one to throw in there,
Yeah.
Throw them all, just and make that loud and clear what types of claims that you've handled, because that does a lot to really hammer in your experience. Have you usually sent out a sample estimate with it as well?
Yep.
You do? Okay, beautiful.
Yep.
Yeah, I would dedicate an hour, no more than even an hour, just making some improvements to the resume, and then just hit that list and hit the list in its entirety, and then hit all those websites. Because I knew something seemed off when you said 15 companies that you've been onboarded with. that number should be a bit higher.
Yeah.
So it's not terribly surprising that that you haven't been hearing as
Yeah,
much.
I think it just takes me a little longer because I do keep a spreadsheet of all my
That's
people
good.
that I'm contacting and when, and so I feel like sometimes a few things are double duty. I have to re-enter some stuff in,
Yeah,
and I move on to the next one,
yeah,
and
for
then I go
sure.
back to my spreadsheet and re-enter more information. So that I feel like it takes me a little longer. That's all.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. Dylan, I know that at a certain point when you were kind of down and just not getting responses, you expressed that the kind of the biggest thing that I think maybe might have been holding you back was the sort of monotonous end of it. And do you have any word? I feel like maybe you might have a few words for Micah in terms of like that initial outreach based on your experience.
Well, I did something, that I thought was helping me out, and I think that when I sent it to you, I think you said it came off a little bit entitled, and I didn't mean it in that regard. But what I started doing was when I was reaching out to these companies, and I still do this, whether it's right or wrong. But I think that's kind of how I found this company now, was asking them questions. So they would reach out to me and say, "Hey, we want you to onboard." And I would ask them, "Do you guys have any daily claims in Michigan? Do you guys handle carriers here?" And figuring that out before I go and spend this time, because they don't care. In my experience, what I'm starting to see here is there is the recruiters, and they're probably just trying to get numbers in. At the end of the month, they're just, people are looking and seeing how many people they've recruited in to get rostered. They don't really care about getting you work at the end of the day, and it's from what I'm seeing.
Yep.
So when I started asking these questions, they would say, "Oh, well, we'll have to link you up with this person, and you can ask them." And I said, "Perfect." So then I would reach out to them and see if they handle claims in Michigan, how many adjusters they have in the area, what type of volume maybe I could expect, this type of thing. And sometimes I would get responses, and sometimes I wouldn't. More so I would. But that was I felt like it was narrowing it down. I felt like I was being more efficient that way.
Okay. I don't disagree with that. If I critique that a little, I would say just use that strategy as a method to triage your onboarding. If you have someone that says, obviously, like Mike, in your case, oh yeah, we have claims in the, in the lower New York area or wherever, we definitely have daily claims. Absolutely. Jump on that, get that onboarding done right now, and follow up, because that's a hot lead. If they come back around and they say, well, we don't normally work in New York, but, we might have a client, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Does that mean that you shouldn't, on board with them? No, I believe that you should still on board with them. But does that mean, you should go through the hour that it takes to onboard with them instead of reaching out to another company? I would say reaching out to another company is going to be more efficient, more efficient with your time. So, but hold on to that, triage it, and because at a certain point, you're not going to be reaching out to these companies anymore, and you're going to have time. And if you have to decide between, just kind of taking the afternoon off or going out to lunch or just, calling it an early day versus signing up to that one, onboarding with that one firm, definitely I would say onboard with that one firm. It's just a better use of your time. Does that make sense? Yeah. Good. So yeah, definitely do. And I want to pull in here, Justin. How are you doing over there, man? What's your update? Where are you at with claims right now? And I was curious if you had any input on all of this.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of same across the board. It's a little slow here on my end. I was being actually I'm onboarded with. I mean, I don't want to say onboarded, but I'm working with 7 different companies right now. But like they kind of just all went ghost, and I was like, did I do something wrong? Is this normal? Like I'm starting to question myself and my work, but I don't know. Maybe hearing what you guys are saying, it seems to be normal for it to be kind of dead around this time, especially no hurricane going on. But a lot of it's Milton claims, honestly, and I know the deadline's coming up. That's what a lot of them getting. So
Yeah.
water pipe leaks and Milton claims with public adjusters and.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you could be feeling it as well. But it's good that you've got the 7 companies that you are working with. I mean, on a weekly basis, what's your claim volume looking
Yeah,
like now?
it literally just dried up this week. Like this is like the first week I haven't had a claim shoot into me.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, it just happened. But I'll say my average claim volume is about 7 claims a week, maybe 7 to 8. Still not much, but something to keep me going.
Okay. Um, yeah, I mean, at first I was a little concerned when you said, you're not, yeah, everybody let you go. You're not sure if it was you. I wouldn't, yeah, don't worry about that. Especially if it's just this week. I know for me personally, I had that feeling for like the first year or two that I
Yeah.
did this. If there was any slowdown in claims, it had to be because of me. It couldn't be any other external factor. It was me. Um, you know, as long as I mean, the big question to ask yourself is, do you feel good about the product that you've been delivering and your times? Me, for example, over the last like several weeks, I've been doing claims too. And I've been getting that feeling again because my biggest thing is my work product is, in my opinion, the best. The problem with me, though, is that I do so much other stuff. My times suck. So that's been something I'm looking at. So those are the two big things: your work quality and the time that it takes you to turn these things out. Obviously, there's other factors involved too, your communication and your customer service as well. But those are the two big things that will definitely get a company to not want to work with you. But as long as you're nailing those things, and also never hurts to reach out to the company anyway, just to check in, just to see how everything's going. Hey, I know things are kind of slowed down right now, but I just want to make sure it's not, that it's you and it's not me.
Yeah, that was gonna be my question. Do you think they'll actually say something, or they're just like, "No, you're fine." I didn't know if they're gonna be honest. 'Cause I did call them. They're like, "Oh no, we're just slow."
Yeah,
We'll send you.
I think it's good. I think it's good to do that. Number one, you're going to get a better response. No, I mean, probably no matter what, they're going to tell you that it's slow, that it's
Yeah,
not you, even if it was you. But it at least it does it is still good for you to do that as a business owner, to use the time that now that it's down a little bit to kind of check in and make sure that they're doing good and schmooze them a little bit.
gotcha.
What companies are you working with?
So I'm working with EP Claims, which I do slide through, which I had a bad experience with that. I'll tell you that right now. But
With Slide Insurance?
yeah, it's horrendous. Their times to come back with like collaborating on the claim, paying out on the claim is just it takes forever.
Yeah,
And that was the one I think I put in the chat. The management was kind of they didn't want like I'll ask them a question like I don't know, figure it out kind of deal. So that kind of sucked.
yeah.
But as far as that, I mean, I'm working with what's her name, Kin Insurance, which is through Brush.
Mhm.
Working with Brush, Otter Claims, Menard Claims, and I forgot the other two off the top of my head. But
Okay, that's good. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm trying to diversify as much as I can. But is it when? I guess my question is, what states are even busy right now, or is it across the board kind of slow? Because I know Florida's super slow.
Yeah, it's a tough one to answer. I think,
Okay.
if I had to guess, I think a majority of the country, I mean, I don't want to, it's October right now, so I really don't want to say that. It's a tough one to say. I really don't think I'm qualified enough to even give you an answer on that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's kind of tough. Um,
I
I
got
mean,
a question for
yeah, what's up?
Justin. Justin, with how many, companies you're working for and your claim volume, that seems like a lot of different guidelines and whatnot that you are having to work with. How is that going? Are you dealing with all of their own systems and whatnot and file track or Symbility? Like, is the spread crazy right now, or how is that going?
Yeah, so all this is it's through all Xactimate. That's good, but
Okay.
the guidelines are different. Like one company has a CMS that they want it to done a certain way, and it kind of gets a little hectic because everybody does their thing a certain way based off the guidelines. So I mean, system wise, it's all through Xactimate, but the way they want the claim done is different across the board. So I just kind of refer back to those guidelines before I write it up, just to kind of refresh my brain because I will make a mistake, working with different companies.
With the volume you've been getting, have you been able to say, you get maybe 10 from one company and it's in a week or in a couple of weeks where you can kind of get on a roll, or does it always feel like you're bouncing, back and forth trying to, like, you never
Yeah.
kind of get into a rhythm?
Yeah, so at first it was bouncing around a little bit, and then majority of the companies would ghost me. I'm just getting claims from one company for like a week, and then they'll ghost me, and then the second company will come in. I mean, I'm saying ghost, but
Yeah.
they don't have claims really. But
Yeah.
yeah, I never really had too much where I had 5 from this one, 5 from that one, 5 from this one, and mixing them all together. But it usually one company will hit me up for a week, the next company will come in, and it was a nice rotation until now. Now it's a little slow, so.
Yeah, Don, what's up, Don?
Yeah, I just had a question for you guys. Are you guys looking outside of your areas that you're at as well? I mean, are you looking at are you just interstate, or are you looking elsewhere, other states as well? I'm just curious, because I plan on being as fluid as possible and multiple states, but I'm just curious as to each of your. I know everybody's a little bit different, so just curious.
Dylan, you want to take that, and then Justin?
What's happening right now?
Do you look for claims outside of your state, or
For some reason I couldn't even hear Don speaking. I had no idea what just happened there.
Oh, sorry.
No, somebody else can go. I don't even know what's going on.
Okay. Justin, did you get that?
Yeah, so right now I'm not looking outside the state. I mean, I'm looking outside my radius, still within Florida, but I don't know. I guess that's a question for Jeremy, really, because if you're doing daily claims and you get up and leave, would you kind of mess up the business you created in, your hometown or your area that you're covering?
That's a very good question, and the answer is yes. You potentially will. That's something that I wrestled with for the longest time. And I can tell you, even if you have like a big social media presence, these companies, they don't give a shit. If they expect you, Don, like you're in your area, you're in New Mexico, and they're giving you claims and you're their New Mexico guy, and they're depending on you, and they got their one account, they're sending you that one account. They're thinking about, they know there's another account that they're trying to lock down, and they already know that they can trust you, and they could maybe try to get somebody else. And if you're like, hey, I want to get out of here because I want to go to the Midwest for this hailstorm for this other company, yeah, I mean, they're going to be a little bit, you kind of upended them a little bit. Now, does that mean if you leave for 2 months and then come back that they'll be like, no, Don, we're never working with you again? Not necessarily. If you gave them a good product, they'll bring you back on, I'm sure. But will they have you back on to the same degree? Well, it depends how good your replacement was. If you left and then we had another Adjust University student in the area come in, and this young buck is hungry, yeah, they might be like turning these things out same day turnarounds, and you are at like between 24 and 48 hour turnarounds. They may kind of stay in that direction. Like for me, I didn't travel for any work for the first several years that I did this. So by the time, and I remember having this conversation with one of my claims managers for a company that I did a lot of work with, who was a guy that was like my same age. We were both like mid-20s or whatever it was, mid to late 20s or something. And and he just kept telling me like, man, we've got guys that go travel. Like you've got something really good here. Like you're not making as much like that fast, but like you're making steady money. Like you should really think about this. And I had a bug up my butt. I wanted to go. I wanted to hit the road and be a CAT adjuster. So for a while I did that. And I would come back and he would have the claims for me. But that was only because we had such a good relationship. But then eventually he started working, he got moved up in the company. I had to work with somebody else, and that started to fall apart. And the same is pretty much true with the other companies that I worked with. Especially I think it was in 2017 that's when I finally decided I want out of here. And, I just want to go and travel. I wanted to do Harvey, and then I did Irma after that. And the whole ordeal was like 5 months altogether. All the companies I worked with back home, they've all replaced me. They've all moved on, and they've had plenty of time to like experiment with other resources and find that. So when I come back, did I do well in the 5 months I was gone? Yeah. But did I struggle for the next 5 months to get started? Absolutely. So it almost got to the point where it was like, did I make more money? Not really, maybe a little bit, but more, was it worth the headache that I got? Probably not. But it was worth the stories that I got from the travel. So I hope if you do decide to travel and all that, that's fine. But you will have to decide on building that local business or fostering those relationships with companies that are going to call you when a disaster strikes or when they have a deployment opportunity, right? Those companies, they may feed you some claims. Like those same companies, if they know you're home in New Mexico and they've got something in New Mexico, they'll throw you a couple just to feed you and make you happy. But it's when you are jumping ship to other companies, when you are kind of selling them on you being the number one resource in that one area, versus you're going to be the guy that's going to hit the road for them and they'll throw you work when they can, at home. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I think one of the perks I have is, my wife's doing this as well. So we could still maintain, home accounts and things like that. Would that even be something that I should present to an IA firm or an insurance company that, hey, we're a team here. There's two of us. My wife's going to probably remain local most of the time. And I'm willing to travel, or is that even something I should even bring up?
I'm trying to wrap my head around the context here. So, I mean, when you're saying when you reach out to companies, right, telling them about your wife and how the wife is going to stay local, I think I understand what you mean. There's a good angle to that, I think, where that's actually a pretty good angle where you guys are both, right? I'm just going to quarterback this thing. You guys are both marketing yourselves, right? Independently you're reaching out to companies all separately, right? And maybe you have a couple companies that you're working with. She's got a couple companies that she's working with. Now, one of the two of you get the opportunity to ship out, right? Well, now you've got the companies that you are working with, but instead of just leaving them totally high and dry, you can say, well, hey, I'm going to be stepping out for a little bit. I'm going to have to take some time off. However, my wife, who I work very closely with, she's here. Can I get her on board with you? That's a great, and then when I come back, we'll be fine. You could certainly do that. That's the safest route you could possibly do. It's not going to work with 100% of the companies. But I know firsthand, I've had, when I before Adjuster University started and I started wanting to train people to do this sort of work, I had like a couple guys that I trained to do this. And because at that point I was getting so many work opportunities, I would just turn companies down constantly. So in my head, I'm like, rather than doing that, I could, just kind of shove some of these companies their way. And then if I find a better company to work with myself, I'll, and I need to cut one of my companies loose, I'll just move them over. And it worked, and it worked great. So you could definitely do that. But the first step to getting that to work is creating a great relationship with those companies to the point where they trust you fully on the front end enough to say, yeah, that's your wife. Well, if your wife knows half of what you know, she's got to be great. You know what I mean? And same vice versa with her.
Perfect.
But definitely. Well, let me pull in. I know we've been focusing on you guys for a bit. I want to pull in Cody. Cody, are you there? Do you have any input on any of what we've been talking about?
I am here. First, I wanted to circle back to Micah. I was going to say something, but I didn't want to interrupt anybody. If you wanted to drop your resume and your intro email into Circle, maybe we can take a look at it. See if that might be the reason you're not getting any responses.
Yeah, drop it, Micah. Drop that in the business of adjusting channel. We need some activity in that channel. Drop it in there, and then maybe we could get like the whole community to throw you some ideas.
Yep, exactly. And if anybody else needs somebody to look at their resume or their intro emails as well, y'all can do that too. I to respond to Don, I strictly do just daily claims, and so I don't do any traveling, but I do cover a wide area in Texas, most of East Texas really, and I travel to Shreveport, Louisiana as well. That's within my distance. But I think that was about it for any of the questions that was
Okay.
thrown out there. I've gone through I haven't made it all the way through, but I have onboarded with some more people, Jeremy.
Okay, great. Yeah.
One of them actually threw me a claim the same day I onboarded with them.
Good deal. Okay. And are they still sending you claims now? How's that growing?
I've only gotten the one from them, but I reached out to some other companies that I had done work with previously, and they've sent me some claims.
Okay, great deal. Awesome. Good to hear. All right, getting back in the swing.
Cody, are you picking back up?
A little bit. It's still real slow. We haven't had a whole lot in Texas. I did want to pick your brain on the one I did today, though, Jeremy.
Sure. You want to do it now? Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, I guess if we want to do it now,
Yeah.
or if you had like an Xactimate session you wanted to do
Um,
later.
I won't have any time to do it now. What sort of questions did you have?
Well, it's basically so, like, they wanted me to do this as a liability claim, and it was a real, like, nasty house. It's not a very big house, but it was a rent house, and the water was supposed to be shut off at like the end of the year last year, and it never was. And so one of the pipes frozen and then busted.
Okay.
And so it's got drywall that's fallen down, insulation that's damaged, mold just about everywhere. They wanted me to include like mitigation and contents and all that. How would you go about doing all that? Would you use the water line items for the removal of drywall, or would you just do it as remove and replace drywall?
I mean
claim, or would you do it more like?
Well, first, I don't think that this has anything to do with this has nothing to do with your question. But when you said it, they want you to handle it as a liability claim. What do you mean by that?
They labeled it as liability, is what they labeled it as. I don't know if that means anything different. I've never seen it labeled that way before.
That's weird. Maybe it was a mistake because I would think that maybe it's a liability claim like against the preservation company or whoever was supposed to winterize the pipes.
Yeah, I think they filed it against like the city, the water supply. For the city.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, all right. Whatever. Yeah. In that case, I mean, number one, it depends on the guidelines that you're supposed to follow if you're going to be allowed to use those water line items.
Okay.
But generally, unless you're explicitly told not to, absolutely. If the materials are wet or it's visibly water damaged, yeah, I would definitely use those line items. And if they said that they want you to write mitigation as well, yeah, throw some air movers in there. Throw it 3 air movers per room. I'm sorry, one air mover per room at least. Kind of roundabout, like rough way to estimate for it. An air mover per every room for 3 days.
Just kind of bump it all the way up.
Yeah. Yeah, put a dehu in there 3 days every room, something like that. And yeah, all your tear out specific line items, your antimicrobial and all that sort of stuff. And I'm assuming, was it a bunch of frozen pipes?
I wasn't able to see. It looked like the pipes ran in the attic because that's where all the drywall was coming down from, was the ceiling.
Okay.
I wasn't able to get up. I wasn't going to walk around up there to try to find them.
Okay.
And I
Did
didn't
you-
see that where they had an attic access. It could have been in one of the closets, but the doors were so swollen shut or swollen that you couldn't open the closet doors.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. This is a good little thing to add in, especially since we've got we've got a couple Southerners here today, but a couple Northerners too. Whenever you're dealing with a frozen pipe claim, you always want to make sure that you verify that it is a frozen pipe and not anything else. Easy way to do that is just to get eyes on where the pipe broke. It's very easy to identify a frozen pipe versus anything else. You can Google it, frozen pipe, and it'll show you. It's basically just like it's a slit, along the length of the pipe itself. And it's good to identify that. And this is especially important, Dylan, if you haven't handled a frozen claim either, or Micah especially. Justin, Ashley, Brian, I'm not sure about you, but you guys may not ever, need to deal with this. When you're dealing with a frozen pipe, that pipe is covered under insurance. So you do need to verify, but you need to verify that it froze and did not fail because of normal wear and tear. Throw a little extra knowledge on there for you. Doesn't sound like this has anything to do with your claim here, Cody, because it sounds like your claim that was a vacant property. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So when you're dealing with a frozen pipe, when the property is occupied, just so everybody knows, one important thing to verify is that the house was occupied when it took place. If the house was not occupied and it was just sitting vacant, then there is a big question of whether or not heat was maintained inside the house. Because if the insurance suspects that heat was not maintained, well, then there's no coverage for it. And you can, oftentimes kind of make it easier to handle if that is the house that's insured under the policy and they did not leave to go on vacation or anything else. Usually you can just say, yeah, they were occupying the house when it happened and the heat was maintained, and that should be good enough right there. Any other circumstance, which certainly does pop up more often on frozen pipe claims, if they say that they hadn't been in the house for a couple weeks or it's a rental or any of these things, that's when insurance is going to want to see the last 3 months of utility invoices to verify that heat was being used. And as long as there's some activity and it looks reasonable enough, then there should be coverage for that. And as long as there's coverage, as long as they can prove that heat was being maintained in the house, then you have the water damage that came as a result of the broken frozen pipe, and you have the pipe itself. That should be covered under the policy as well. There's been times in the past where I've had conversations with public adjusters and some contractors where the cause of loss is a frozen pipe and it's a rental house. And I have to say to the public adjuster, hey, I'm sure you already know this, but just keep in mind that if this is a frozen pipe claim and we want the pipe covered as well, we're going to need to prove that heat was maintained. And that's specific to frozen pipe claims, not regular wear and tear plumbing failures. If it's a wear and tear plumbing failure, we don't need those invoices. Plumbing's not going to be covered. If plumbing is going to be covered, we need those invoices. And that is only if we can't, they say, oh, the pipe is up there, but we can't get to it or something like that, where the cause of loss is still in question, then we can kind of say that a little bit more, to kind of throw the ball in their court. Hey, if you can prove to us that it's frozen, great. We'll get that included. Show your invoices. If there's heat's not maintained though, there's no deal. Everything's off. So, there's probably been times that, a public adjuster has, or contractor, or probably even insured, has opted to make it a wear and tear plumbing failure just to avoid all the the hoops. Does that make sense to you guys? I kind of talked in circles there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got a quick question.
Yeah, what's up?
I've been having some issues on my end trying to figure out the cause of loss. There's certain circumstances where I can't understand how they got, for example, they'll be staining on the ceiling, but I see no, roofing material exposed or storm created openings. And the way I write up my GLRs, I'll just put, look, we might need a leak detection company to come out. I can't figure it out what's going on. Is that something bad? Like, I don't know. Like, aren't they expecting us to find the cause of loss versus putting it off to a third party? But
Yeah. I would avoid that at all costs. So if as much as you possibly can, especially like a leak detection service, generally they don't do roof leaks. They're going to just do pipes, right? I'm sure they'll do anything for money though. But I mean, oftentimes, I don't want to say this is 100% of the time, but and maybe you could give some background on if there's one particular claim that you're thinking of. There's usually something on the roof where the water in that general area above where you saw that water spot, where it's some sort of perforation, some sort of vulnerability. Maybe there's a valley nearby. Maybe there's a pipe jack nearby. There's no missing shingles or anything like that. No, nothing that's like clearly visible. Oh, obviously water came in through that spot, but there's something there. There's some sort of change in the framing of the roof that is would allow something where there's probably flashing, right? If there's something in the general area, that is probably where the water came in from. I think most adjusting companies or insurance carriers would then tell you to do what I absolutely hate doing, which is going in the attic and seeing if you could figure anything out in there. But oftentimes there's something. There's something that you can at least put your finger on, and that's what you should just do at that point. And I think as far as like coverage goes, if you're dealing with a policy that requires a storm created opening, then I mean, the biggest thing you need to prove is that there is no storm created opening, right? They'll still want to know exactly where it came from. It is extremely unlikely. I don't want to say impossible, but extremely unlikely for water to just, especially if you're dealing with an asphalt shingle roof, for water just to go through, right? Not impossible, but extremely unlikely. There's probably something there, even if it comes down to, like a valley is a very common place, and it just water seeps underneath the shingles right where one shingle ends and another is laid under it. Usually something's there. Put your finger on it, and oftentimes too, like if there is a pipe jack, you can get up there, take a look at the nails. Are they exposed? 8 times out of 10 they are. They're the whatever caulking they put over it, the sealant they put over it has worn away from the sun. There's a possible water entry right there. Just, the asking a third party, especially if it's like an engineer or something like that, you want to hold that to it's like, you cannot, like, you got nothing, no possibility. And it's just like, there's a water spot, like, in the middle of a house, open floor plan, gable roof, right? No vents, no nothing. It's just flat slope, and there's a water spot in the middle, no vents. Then okay, I would say check out the attic to see if maybe there's a pipe in the attic or an air conditioning unit in the attic that might be leaking instead. But yeah, I would be like extremely conservative on those third party requests for sure.
okay. Usually I do point something out on it, but I'll give a suggestion like this is what it might be, but I don't know if it's actually like, for example, the one was a valley and they repaired the caulking around the step flashing.
Yeah.
And they did repairs on there and it was crappy repairs, but I
That
don't know
yeah.
if it came from there, but that's why I pointed it to.
Yeah.
But I didn't make it sound like that it was definitive, right? I didn't make it seem like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I've done that same thing.
Okay.
I've done that same thing a bunch of times, and if it, I would maybe I could exercise the word likely. It is likely originating from right there.
Appears, right?
It
It
appears,
appears
yeah.
that
It appears to be, likely originating from stuff like that. I mean, if you have the opportunity to put your finger on something and say that's the cause, I mean, the worst thing that could happen is what? They send an engineer out and they're like, no, it was actually the pipe jack 2 feet away. Like, okay, we're in the same place,
Yeah,
But
we had one this year. Actually, we built this house that we live in a year and a half ago, brand new, and I had a water spot showing up in the corner of the bathroom. It was really bizarre. We had a freak storm that came through New Mexico. The water was blowing on the side of the house. It was kind of like sideways rain. It actually followed the path of the roof or the exhaust vent, and the caulking wasn't the best around the pipe that they put through the side of the house. So we ended up having some water damage here in the house, and all it was around the exhaust vent. It migrated, followed the path of least resistance, created a small little water damage. It was repaired, no big deal. But yeah, it could be. It was like 20 feet from where the bathroom was, and I was like, man, it's got to be a pipe leak or something. And we're looking. I was up in the attic. All it was that roof vent. It just followed the path of least resistance, came down the pipe, and created a water spot on the wall. So
yeah.
yeah.
And I'll tell you what, those these roof leaks for us Northerners, once we start getting snow, that's when we'll get some roof leaks. So
want a nice big floor to replace.
yeah. Hey, those are good ones. There's been a couple years in my tenure as an adjuster where it's ice damming is it's not great. I take that back. It's actually very annoying. Ice damming claims because they'll want you to inspect the roof. Meanwhile, there's a foot of snow on top of the roof. And the damage on the inside is usually never that bad, but we do get it sometimes where it's like you get a little water damage on the ceiling going down the wall, and oops, it got on the hardwood, and now we got to hit the hardwood. So that's when it's good, but sometimes it's just water spots. But Ashley, if you're still there, I'd like to jump over to you and bring you in the fold a little bit. So I know that now. Are you there, Ashley?
I'm here.
Hey, all right. So I know that now you've got your license. I'm trying to catch myself up on everything. Have you completed everything other than the license, or do you still have some training to go?
I think I just have the marketing and stuff now, and I got so excited about the passing the test, I got to go back and get fingerprinted. I started doing my resume. I was like, oh shoot, because I mean I've done PNC producer, Medicare, life and health, and I'm like, how could I forget that? So I'm going tomorrow for the fingerprint and background check, which will be fine. So,
All right,
but yeah, I got to do marketing. I did my resume, and yeah, now we just got to market.
All right. I haven't looked at your resume before, right?
I don't think so.
All right. I would say if you don't mind and you're open to it, love to take a look at it. Drop it. Micah said he'll be dropping his in the business of adjusting chat.
Okay.
Drop yours in there too, and we'll kind of make sure you're going in the right path on that. And
all right.
Then by the time you get, your fingerprints and all that, and you can start finalizing that resume and start hitting the list too.
Okay, great.
Deal. All right. Last thing, Brian, are you still there? I know you've been hanging in tight while we've been, talking baseball this whole time.
I mean, it's good to hear.
You're at this point now, you're like a month in, maybe, are you? Is that right?
I am, but I haven't had a chance to really lock in. But November is going to be my time for that. I just know I couldn't bypass the opportunity, so but it's good. I'm on the call, I'm learning and listening, and looking forward to putting it all together sooner than later.
Great deal. Great. Let me ask you, do you have any, I know you're just getting started and you're super green still at this point. Do you have any questions going into it? Anything that you caught that's been raising your eyebrows, or anything you want to throw at the group?
Not as right now. What I've heard on the calls today are, I'm sure, some things that I'm going to face. So it was good to hear for the first time, especially, when things slow down, just hearing that and just expecting that those things are going to happen. And also, some things you're not going to know exactly what cause it is. So, knowing how to improvise, and it's just good for me to be on the call and listen.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Great.
And I kind of add to that. The ironic thing is the guys that are, like we're hopping in, we're all kind of saying we're a little slow, but that's the reason why we're on the call today. The guys that are all busy, they don't have time to jump out on this. So that is one point. I have been really busy and, not been able to make it. So you're also here and we're slow, but that's, like I said, the reason why we're here.
That's actually a really good point. I didn't realize that. Because I have had it in my head where I'm like, man, it sucks when like guys are popping in and they're like, it's slow. I'm like, shit, that sounds so bad. But like, is it always like we get sometimes like somebody might jump in and they're busy and they're kind of, I know Jake Schneider jumps in every now and then.
I was going to say Jake. He's a killer.
Yeah, and he's not hiding. He's not taking a break, and he's not hiding it either. He's like over there, and then he's in the class. He's in the group for like 15 minutes, and then he signs off. But that's right. Yeah, you guys, it's slow for you guys and that's why you have nothing better to do today than to jump in on this meeting.
And one question I did have, I'm in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia area. Is there anybody on this call around this area?
We don't have very many people in Atlanta in general.
Okay.
I was actually just thinking about that, like Georgia in general. We got tons of Florida, bunch of students in Florida. Ashley's over in Louisiana, but like Alabama, Mississippi. I mean, we had a guy, one or two people I know from Alabama, but like Mississippi, Georgia, even South Carolina is a bit wonky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that like the real South. We don't have very many in the real South.
Okay.
By real South, I just mean Southeast, but not Florida. That's really what I mean by that. But no, so you've got an open field ahead of you, Brian.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Well,
but
excuse me, my friend in Augusta said that because we got into a car wreck. I was over there in Augusta doing Masters Week, cleaning houses for the pros earlier this year, and we got into a huge wreck. And the adjuster's been taking forever. And they telling her that they don't have a lot of adjusters out there, and she's been wanting me to move over there. And I'm like, well, now that I'm hearing you say this, don't tell me that because I'll pack and go. I'm going where the money is, So yeah, that's good to hear. Thanks, Jeremy.
You got it.
That is good to hear. A lot of opportunity.
Yeah. All right. Does anybody have anything else they want to throw out to the group before we wrap this thing up?
I got one more question, Jeremy. So in these slow times, do these IA firms and things like that put on trainings that you could get face to face with these people throughout the year, or is that something we should kind of reach out and say, hey, do you guys have any training or get-togethers or functions going on that we could be a part of?
Yeah, that's a great question. All right, so they don't companies don't put on trainings because it's slower or anything like that. Some of the bigger companies, once you get to the marketing end of the training and you start getting on rosters, then you're going to start getting those marketing emails and stuff like that. And there are a handful of companies that do events throughout the year, like claims adjusting companies that'll do events throughout the year. Primarily, they're in the first quarter of each year because I think they load up on the expenses, the year prior. But you'll start to come across them. There's so you could go to those events. I think I might touch on this in the training at one point. I don't really support going to those events, particularly if it's put on by a claims company, only because if you've got a ton of money to burn, sure. Like go out there. It's a tax deductible trip. Hopefully it's somewhere nice and, not Des Moines or, somewhere, but it might not be great either. Like Oklahoma City, could be Biloxi or something like that. Where hey, whatever. But in terms of like really doing it for the purpose of getting some face time to build a relationship and to get claims from one company, to me, that's a big gamble, right? Because you could just easily circumvent that entire process by just emailing them a few times, and you're right back to square one, right? There's a couple larger events that take place every year. There's an event called NACA, NACA. That's a big one. That it's the National Association of Catastrophe Adjusters, I believe. There's also another event called PLRB, and those events, you will pay more to go to those events, but you will get in front of more claims companies at that time. So I would say if you're going to do one or the other, definitely do the bigger events, and they're going to have more stuff too, like classes and training and things like that. But in terms of for the sole purpose of marketing yourself, to me, the ROI isn't there. I mean, the ROI is there. I take that back. There is an ROI there, because all you really, if you spend $2,500 on a trip, and you get one company to throw you a handful of claims, boom, you've got it back, right? And then you never hear from them again. But so to that end, like you will make money, but it's just for me personally, I find more value. The time that I would spend doing all of that, I'd rather just market. I'd rather just send emails out and do it that way.
I did that. Sorry.
Oh no, go for it. Go for it, Tim.
I was gonna say I went to a conference last winter for just basically the company that loaded me up during hurricane season. I went down there and they had an event, I think in Texas. Can't remember this. I think it was San Antonio. Yeah, it snowed. It was like I said in January, and it was all right. I honestly it was nice to meet a lot of those people, but I received one claim from them since I've done that. So it's like you think like you hope that something's going to come out of it, and you never know. Like Jeremy said, it really is a gamble. But yeah, I did it. Because at the end of the day, I did make a lot of money going on hurricane season, so it was fine to go meet them. But overall, it didn't do much for my future.
Yeah. And you know what? That's a great point. And all that's kind of contradictory, sort of. But although that didn't work out for you and with that particular company, I would recommend, though, if you are working with a company and you are getting claims from them and you're building that relationship, if they put on an event, I would say go to that event, because they're getting now they're seeing you more as a human. You're building more of a relationship with them there. And at that point, it could be fun. You see your claims manager who you've been working with for months. You see so-and-so that you've been emailing back and forth, and it's a nice little vacation of sorts that you can completely write off. Hopefully, again, I would have done San Antonio. That doesn't sound too bad. You could have went by the water and
it was snowing.
Oh, all right.
Not too bad in San Antonio, though. I like it there. That's where I got married. So
there you go. Well, yeah, you got barbecue, great hill country nearby. I mean, you had options.
That's a great point, though, because I am going to the company that's been feeding me daily claims here. I am going to a conference in February for them. To exactly the point with what you just said, they actually can kind of put a face, and you can have a little good time with them, and so I think that can go a long way. But yeah, that's actually a good kind of rule of thumb for me, where it's like if you're getting daily claims and consistency with a firm, go to their conference. If you're trying to get claims, it probably wouldn't be worth it.
Right. Think of it as that you guys are your own account managers, right? You got to manage that account. You're the number one salesperson in your company, right? So when your client puts on a party, you show up to that party, you shake hands, you eat the hors d'oeuvres, and you do all that. It is a responsibility of yours to go party with your clients. So you heard it here first. All right.
A couple things to add to that, Jeremy.
Yeah,
some of those bigger conferences offer CE credits towards your license also.
Yes. Yeah.
So you go to those bigger conferences, you can do those classes, though. Sometimes they're like an hour, maybe 2 hours towards your CE credits.
Yep. That's another great point too. And if you've had, yeah, sometimes you might get good ones there, and yeah, you just kind of, might have went out the night before. You sit in that 10 a.m. class, you put some sunglasses on, and boom, you got an hour of ethics, under your belt. So,
I had one more thing on that other claim, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Would you include electrical, like a complete rewire of that house, or would you just not? Since it's all, I mean, it's all covered by drywall, but it's all molded inside too.
On the basis of mold, no. I mean, I would. It's hard to kind of answer that. I would say here's a roundabout sort of. If the walls and ceiling are completely damaged by water, right? Not just mold, that could have just been mold spores that just came into the room,
Right.
right? If it's just visible water, like the whole tops and sides of the room, all right, I would say you have a case for that, right? Because it's just a lot of water. Like, do all the electrical, light fixture, whatnot. If it's just like walls are okay, it's just the ceiling, right? And there's wiring above the ceiling, then maybe there's a rewire line item that's calculated by square foot.
Right.
I would rationalize that and maybe replace the light fixture. You're just not doing any rough-ins for electrical, outlets or anything like that. If it's not the full ceiling, if it's, and the walls are fine, and the light fixture even looks okay, I wouldn't touch it then.
Okay.
General roundabout estimation of electrical, I guess. But all right, guys, anybody have anything else want to throw out there? Anybody? Everybody's good. All right, guys, we'll wrap this thing up. We're at a cool 57 or 67 minutes here. All right, well, guys, I'm glad that had a decent little turnout. I'm glad you guys came, especially early afternoon. I might even start to change the time we do this to a little bit earlier. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, guys, if you need anything, let me know. Ashley, Micah, guys, drop your resumes in there. I'd love to take a look at them. And if anybody needs anything, you know where to find me. All right.
Thanks, Jeremy.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Jeremy. Bye.
Have a good afternoon.
Peace.